Hello all, I am Dr. Tejendra Kaur Sarna. In this module of nutrition, wellness and fitness, we are talking about energy, fitness, physical activity and many more things. Today, we shall be talking about energy and energy expenditure. What is energy? Ability to do work is energy. Now, where do we get this energy from? Sun is the vital source of energy to all the living beings on the earth. Plants make their food through the process of photosynthesis in the presence of sun, and we consume those plants to get our share of energy. Now, this energy is stored in human body as the basis of survival for cells. Our body loses energy in various voluntary and involuntary activities, and this is termed as energy expenditure. By the end of this lecture, you all will be able to understand what is energy with respect to its use and expenditure, understand the component of energy expenditure and different aspects of energy expenditure, and understand the factors affecting energy expenditure and the reasons for the same. Let's start. Energy can be defined as the capacity to do work, and humans need energy to do all the work which comes from food, and it is expressed in form of calories. Once the food is ingested, its chemical energy is released, converted into thermic, mechanical and other forms of energy. Calorie is the basic unit of energy in the field of nutrition. Joule is another term which you all have come across many a times apart from kilocalories. Joule, a physical unit of energy which is defined as energy required to move 1 kg of mass by 1 meter by a force of 1 Newton acting on it. It can also be expressed as 1 Newton is a force needed to accelerate 1 kg mass by 1 meter per second. Now, what is kilocalories? It is the heat required to raise the temperature of 1 kg of water by 1 degree centigrade from 14.5 degree centigrade to 15.5 degree centigrade. You can all see the different factors like 1 kilocalorie is equal to 4.184 kilojoules, 1 megajoule is equal to 239 kilocalories. Why do we need energy? Food is the fuel for body, and whatever we consume, our body converts energy from carbohydrate, fat, protein and alcohol. Now, this energy produced by body is used for various voluntary and involuntary activities throughout our life, like for synthesis, maintenance of body tissue and the heat production to maintain body temperature, and for various mechanical working of muscles. Energy balance. When energy input is equal to energy output, an energy balance is achieved. Let me put it in other words. Energy balance is achieved when the energy input, which is in form of food we eat, balances the energy output, that is total energy expenditure or total energy spent during various activities. Likewise, an individual is said to be in a steady state when the energy balance is maintained over a prolonged period. If energy intake is more than energy output, the positive energy balance is maintained where there is a weight gain. At the same time, when intake is less than output, the body goes into weight loss, which is in a negative energy balance. Energy intake can be measured by food we eat, like carbohydrates provide us with 4 kilocalories per gram, proteins again 4 kilocalories per gram, but fat provides us with 9 kilocalories per gram and alcohol 7 kilocalories per gram. Energy output is a product or the use of calories or the energy on the basis of body functions, physical activity and processing of consumed foods. Now, what are components of energy expenditure? The three components of energy expenditure from human body are basal metabolic rate, thermogenic effect of food and activity thermogenesis, which is also known as physical activity. These three components combine to form what is known as total energy expenditure. Let's discuss them one by one. Basal metabolism. The amount of energy required to do all the involuntary work is termed as basal metabolic rate. It includes series of voluntary functions that are essential for life, such as cell function and its replacement, the synthesis and secretion and metabolism of enzymes and hormones to transport protein and other substances and molecules, the maintenance of body temperature, uninterrupted work of cardiac and respiratory muscles, as well as brain functions. I will repeat myself. The amount of energy used for basal metabolism in a given period of time is termed as basal metabolic rate, which we usually term it as BMR, and it is measured under special standard conditions that include being awake in a supine position after 10 to 12 hours of fasting and 8 hours of physical as well as mental rest. But if in case any of these mentioned conditions are not fulfilled, then energy expenditure is to be referred as resting metabolic rate or RMR. Researchers have concluded that in most of the cases, RMR is 10 to 20% higher than BMR. Let's discuss the various factors that affect BMR. The amount of lean body mass is strongly correlated with the total body size. Greater the body surface area, greater the BMR. All the tissues in the body are metabolically active. Brain, muscle, various glands, vital organs are more active than bone tissues and adipose tissue. Thus, a tall, thin individual will require more energy for his basal metabolism per unit of weight than a small individual. Individuals like athletes with fat-free mass have 5% higher RMR than non-athlete individuals. We all know that males have more lean body mass as compared to females who have more fat mass. Thus, male have BMR which is generally 10 to 12% higher than females. Furthermore, females have a rise in BMR during premenstrual period and postmenstrual fall in BMR. Basal metabolism is inversely proportionate to age. BMR is highest throughout the stages of rapid growth, with first 2 years of life, puberty, and is minimum in old age. With the increasing age, the caloric requirement for growth reduces by 1% of total energy expenditure. Endocrine glands play a major role in influencing the BMR. The secretions of thyroid glands play a potential role in increasing the oxidative process in the body. Overactive secretions of thyroid glands directly increase the BMR, and the same goes the other way also. Temporary rise in BMR is observed in sudden episodes of excitement, fear and emotions due to stimulations of adrenal glands. Sex glands as well as pituitary glands have an indirect influence on metabolism. BMR rises by 5% in the first and second trimester of pregnancy and as high as 12% by the last trimester. Interestingly, during sleep, basal metabolism drops, and it is estimated that BMR decreases by 10% while lying down and not sleeping. People living in higher altitudes have a higher BMR as compared to those living in plains. Similarly, people facing tropical climate have RMR which is usually 5 to 20% higher than those living in temperate areas. BMR rises in cold region depending on the body fat and the clothing worn to keep the body insulated. During fevers, there is an increase in metabolic rate by 13% per degree increase in body temperature above 37 degrees centigrade. Persons who does exercises on a regular basis would have a BMR higher than a person who is leading a sedentary life because of a high lean body mass. prolonged fastings or semi-starvations tends to lower the metabolic rate. Now this table tells us about the factors that are responsible for increasing and decreasing BMR. Factors responsible for increasing BMR are extreme environmental conditions, good physical condition, growth, hyperthyroidism, male gender, more muscle mass, pregnancy, puberty and smoking. Similarly, factors responsible for decreasing BMR are increase in body fat, female gender, hypothyroidism, sleep, aging and undernutrition. We will now discuss about thermogenic effect of food. This is the second component of energy expenditure. Thermogenic effect of food is also referred to as specific dynamic action of food, which is SDA, the specific action of food, SEF, or diet induced thermogenesis, DIT. Thermogenic effect of food can be defined as an increase in energy expenditure which is associated with food consumption. Factors affecting thermogenic effect of food: digestion, absorption, metabolizing and storage of food are termed as thermogenic effect of food or TEF. Composition of diet determines TEF and is greater post carbohydrate and protein rather than fat intake. Fat is consumed to full efficiency with only 4% wastage as compared to carbohydrate converting into fat for storage, which has a rate of 25% wastage. Let's have a look at this table. This table explains the factors that increases or decreases the thermogenic effect of food. Fat increases the TEF while protein decreases it. Consuming all the three macronutrients at one go decreases the TEF, while spicy meals increases the TEF. High fiber meal decreases the TEF. Similarly, increasing in age also decreases the TEF. Obese persons again decreases the TEF, while normal weight person has a high TEF. Consuming meal in cold temperature increases the TEF. Alcohol increases the TEF. Alcohol consumed in cold temperature decreases the TEF. Intense exercise increases the TEF. TEF is increased in untrained individuals and decreased in trained athletes. Results have also shown that TEF is higher in women who have regular eating regime as compared to women who consume food at a regular basis. Physiological value of food. Physiological value of food can be measured by calculating the amount of energy available in the body from a given amount of nutrient. Now the picture that is displayed in front of you is a bomb calorimeter. It is a bomb calorimeter in which carbohydrate, fats and proteins are completely oxidized. As in human bodies, the process of digestion does not proceed with 100% efficiency, so does the efficiency with which nutrients are digested have to be taken into account. This coefficient of digestibility is used to express the proportion of ingested nutrients that becomes ultimately available for the body's cell. The coefficient of digestibility for carbohydrates is 0.98, for protein it is 0.95 and for fat it is 0.92. The third very important factor for TEE is physical activity. Post BMR, physical activity is the second largest and the most variable component of daily energy expenditure. The energy expenditure, that is, the energy spent on physical activity, is dependent on the intensity and the type of physical activity performed and also on the time spent performing those activities. Human beings perform numerous obligatory and discretionary physical activities. Obligatory activities include daily activities such as going to school, tending to home and family, and other demands made on children and adults depending on their economic, social and cultural environment. Discretionary activities are vital for health, well-being and good quality of life. These activities include systematic practice of physical activity for fitness and health, the enactment of optional household tasks that may contribute to family comfort and well-being. It also includes the engagement in individually and socially desirable activities for personal enjoyment, social interaction and community development. In terms of DEE, that is daily energy expenditure, physical activity counts to about 70% in individuals involved in heavy manual work or competition athletes. People with relatively less physical activity have energy expenditure as low as 10 to 15%, and in hospitalized patients it is even lower. Till now you must all have understood what is energy, components of energy requirements and the components for the same. Let's discuss what is energy expenditure. Human energy requirements are estimated from measures of energy expenditure plus additional energy for the needs of growth, pregnancy and lactation. Recommendations for dietary energy intake from food must satisfy these requirements for the attainment and maintenance of optimum health, physiological functions and well-being. To assess the energy expenditure, there is many techniques like direct calorimetry, indirect calorimetric systems, heart rate and energy expenditure relationships, questionnaires and activity recall, motion sensors and combined rate and motion sensors. But doubly layered water technique has been labeled as the gold standard for measuring energy expenditure. We shall be covering only some of them today and rest in the coming lectures. Direct calorimetry. It is an expensive technique where an individual is kept in a room type cabin that permits only a moderate level of activity and measures the amount of heat produced by individual inside. The limitation of this method is that the system measures the energy expended in the form of heat but not the kind of fuel that is being oxidized, and its nature of testing techniques add to the same. Another limiting factor for this method is that the physical activity is limited to a confined chamber. Furthermore, it is a costly technique and involves complex engineering along with scarcity of all the appropriate facilities at different places. Indirect calorimetry. This is the most common method used for the measurement of energy expenditure. Here, individuals' oxygen consumption as well as carbon dioxide production is quantified for a given period of time. The equipment allows the individual to breathe using a mouthpiece which covers both mouth and nose, or even a ventilated hood at times that captures all the expired carbon dioxide. A strict protocol is followed for this method. A minimum of 5 hours of strict fasting, no caffeine consumption, no alcohol consumption, no smoking consumption for last 2 hours. Similarly, no exercises in past 2 hours following a strenuous resistance exercise. To attain a steady phase, a rest period of 10 to 20 minutes is advised before any measurements are taken. An added advantage of this technique is that it allows the energy expenditure measurement of ill as well as individuals who are injured. Respiratory quotient RQ is expressed as a ratio of carbon dioxide released by the lungs to the oxygen taken over by a given period of time. The equation says RQ is equal to carbon dioxide eliminated divided by oxygen consumed. You can see the table that is displayed. The table states that The RQ value for carbohydrate is 1, for mixed diet it is 0.85, for protein it is 0.82, for fat it is 0.7, but in case of ketone production it is less than or equal to 0.65. RQ differs for different foods. Let's take an example of pure glucose. RQs that are greater than 1 are associated with net fat synthesis, carbohydrate or excessive total caloric intake, as compared to RQ very low can be observed in conditions of undernutrition. Heart rate monitoring method. TEE can be measured on a regular basis by constantly monitoring the heart rate, which is based on a strong positive correlation that exists between the heart rate and oxygen consumption, and therefore energy release from the food and energy stores. A mathematical equation can be established describing the relationship between heart rate and oxygen consumption. Doubly labeled water technique. Doubly labeled water technique is a non-invasive procedure involving the ingestion of a quantity of water labeled with a known concentration of naturally occurring stable isotopes of hydrogen and oxygen. As energy is expanded in the body, carbon dioxide and water are produced, and the difference between the isotopes elimination rates can be calculated for total energy expenditure. This method can be carried out on a wide range of individuals over a lengthy period of time, with the advantages for capturing habitual energy expenditure pattern. DLW technique has many advantages, making it more adaptable for measuring TEE. It provides with the components of TEE, REE, TEF and physical activity. As the assessment is not cumbersome, the individual is able to engage in his or her daily activities throughout the assessment period. On top of this, it gives the energy expenditure values of TEE for all the age groups from infancy till old age. Energy balance method. As the name suggests, energy balance is measured over a long period of time. A difference in body composition states the balance or imbalance present or absent. The accuracy of this method depends upon how accurately were the food intake and body composition measured. With this, we come to an end of this particular lecture. Let's summarize what we all did in the entire session. We'll go step by step. Energy represents the capacity to do work, and food is a source of energy for humans. Calorie is a unit of energy. Carbohydrates, fats and proteins are the primary source of energy. Energy balance is achieved when energy expenditure equals energy input. Food ingested is a part of energy input, and energy expenditure includes resting metabolism, thermogenic effect of foods and physical activities. BMR is affected by age, gender, body composition, climate, endocrine glands, sleep and many similar factors. Similarly, TEF and physical activity are also affected by many environmental, social and genetic factors. Energy expenditure can be measured by direct and indirect calorimetry and many other methods, but the gold standard for measuring energy expenditure is doubly labeled water technique. Thank you all. Have a good day and stay blessed.